Welcome to the Graduate School Application Series presented by the College of Biological Sciences Undergraduate Career Services Office. This presentation will focus on writing personal statements and research statements for graduate school. Be sure to check out our other two videos in the series about graduate school application components and requesting letters of recommendation. One large component of a graduate school application are the written essays. Graduate schools usually require that you write a general personal statement outlining who you are and your interest in the field of study and future goals. They may also request other types of essays, such as a research statement. In the sciences, it is not unusual to write both a statement of purpose and a research statement, and the two are very different. The personal statement typically answers the questions of who you are and why do you want to study this particular subject at this particular school. You may be given a very general prompt such as write a statement of purpose, which contains few guidelines, or you may be given specific questions to answer in your essay. The focus of a personal statement in the sciences may include some information about research or lab experiences, but this is not a research statement and thus should include some personal information about how you became interested in the topic and your own personal journey in terms of what you hope to do with your graduate degree. A research statement is slightly different in that you are describing your research history and goals in a past, present, and future model. If you are given the option to include both a personal statement and a research statement, be sure to not repeat the same information. In general, a personal statement consists of no more than 3 pages of content, and the length may vary by school. The elements include an introduction of 1 to 2 paragraphs that tell a unique personal story that begins to explain why you became interested in studying the subject. You would also have to describe your qualifications or experiences that relate to graduate education, and this is typically done in 2 to 4 paragraphs. You may also be able to explain any extenuating circumstances that are not addressed elsewhere in your application. In your personal statement, you will also want to spend some time discussing your current career goals and the focus of the graduate program you're applying to and how your career goals and that graduate program are a fit. If you have any specialized interests, the personal statement is the place to talk about it. If there are any faculty of interest from the university that you're applying to, you'd also want to make mention of this and how your interests align with theirs. In short, you want to answer the question, why this particular program? Lastly, you'd write a conclusion which links back to your introduction and ties the essay together nicely. The first step in writing your statement is to reflect and ask yourself some questions. Why have you selected to study this field? What motivates you to learn more about the subject? What do you want graduate programs to know about you that hasn't been disclosed in other sections of your application? In addition, you may wish to include any unique hardships, challenges, or obstacles that you've overcome that may have influenced your educational pursuits. Again, you may also be able to comment on significant fluctuations in your academic record that are not explained elsewhere in your application. Step 2 is to begin writing. How you approach writing your first draft is highly personal. Some of us write best with an outline, others do best when they start with an introduction, and others prefer to begin with the middle in mind. Regardless of how you choose to begin, keep in mind that the best essays tell a story, your story. Rather than writing, "I've wanted to be a scientist ever since I can remember," consider your life and ask yourself what challenges you have overcome, your observations about science or your field from your personal experience, as well as your successes and motivations. You will not have room in your essay to write about all of your experiences, so choose just a couple and focus on the meaning you have taken from those experiences. How has the experience helped you to grow in a positive way? What have you learned about yourself and others through having the experience? How do you know that a graduate program is for you? At this point, you may have come across examples of personal statements either through friends, family, or online resources. Typically, we know when we see and hear good writing. Think about examples of good writing you have seen. Most likely, they are presented in a story format where there is a captivating introduction, followed by more information to support the introduction, and then a conclusion that ties pieces together. Admissions committees read a lot of personal statements in a short period of time. Be authentic in your writing and tell a good story. The first step in writing your personal statement is to write an introduction. Ideally, this will be a compelling narrative that will get the attention of the reader. In terms of thinking how to start, jot down some ideas about any experiences that you've had that led to your interest. You could also think about any experiences that you've had that developed unique skills that would benefit the graduate program. And you might also ask yourself about challenges that you've encountered and the lessons learned from overcoming those challenges. Here is an example of an introduction which does a good job of capturing the attention of the reader. If you would like, this would be a good time to pause the video to read the full text. Highlighting your qualifications is another area of focus with your personal statement. Here are some life experiences and examples you may wish to discuss in your personal statement. Note that many of these have nothing to do with science or graduate school, yet the experiences may have offered valuable skill building and life lessons that you might discuss in your essay. Examples include artistic endeavors, community service or volunteerism, conferences that you've attended or conferences where you have presented, student organizations you've been a part of, personal hobbies, honors, awards, or recognitions you've received, intercollegiate athletics you've been a part of, internships, paid employment, presentations and poster sessions, publications, definitely research and lab experience, teaching, tutoring, or being a teaching assistant, and also military service if that applies to you. Here is an example of a paragraph where the applicant focuses on an educational experience that has led to their interest in pursuing the field of study. Please pause the video now to read the statement. The personal statement also affords you a chance to explain any challenges you've encountered. These types of challenges might be lower GPA, low test scores, repeating a class, or any legal or academic integrity citations. In terms of how to explain, you might want to think about the circumstances and what the problem was. Did you switch your major or a career path, and did that result in a lower GPA? Were there external circumstances related to a medical issue or a family or financial crisis that you were experiencing? Have you taken steps to resolve the problem with evidence of improvement? For example, repeating a class for a better grade, learning how to manage your workload more effectively, or participating in tutoring. In sum, you want to explain what happened and why, take responsibility for your part in the situation, and then discuss what you learned from the experiences or how you grew. For graduate programs in the sciences, it is a good idea and often an expectation that you have research faculty at the institution of interest and have identified some people as possible faculty mentors. If there are unique characteristics of the program in terms of alignment with your own interests or a personal connection to the school, you might highlight that as well. You should state your career goals as you know them today and explain why you believe you would be an excellent fit for the program. Your conclusion is an opportunity to briefly restate your interest in becoming a physician. Be sure to link back to your introduction in some way and also highlight some key characteristics developed from earlier in your story. The research statement is a common component of graduate school admissions processes in the sciences. Again, the research statement is different than the personal statement in that the focus is on your research interests and broad research questions. In general, the research statement will be 1 to 2 pages in length It will consist of an introduction in which you describe your research interests. You would also spend 1 to 2 paragraphs explaining your past experiences and the skills that relate to the graduate program and your goals. You would also have an opportunity in 1 to 2 paragraphs to talk about your present research experience and what you're learning and how that relates to the graduate program and your goals. You would also spend some time outlining your future research objectives as you know them today. This usually is summed up in about 1 to 2 paragraphs. What do you want to learn, and how might the graduate program or faculty help you to get there? Some final writing tips for both the personal statement and the research statement. Focus on writing first and editing later. Your first draft will be imperfect. Include the scenarios and details that are honest and that you think would appeal to admissions committees. The editing of your statement will come later, and the final statement will be complete after several revisions. Be authentic. Do not just write what you think people want to read. If you do this, it will sound too contrived and give the impression that all you want to do is impress them, but not express yourself and who you are. A personal statement in particular should be a reflection of your personality. By reading your personal statement, the admissions committee should be able to develop a better understanding of you. An effective essay lets the reader know you would be an interesting person to interview and potentially a valuable addition to the graduate program. They may also go to your personal statement when reviewing your application to get an overall sense of you as an applicant. Remember your readers. Admissions committees are made up of all kinds of people. Some will be very familiar with the topic at hand and others will not be. Be specific and provide details. Your details and experiences are what make your personal statement unique and will impress the reader. Document your conclusions with examples and do not make general, far-reaching statements. Show how accomplishments and experiences helped you determine your career objective or helped you to better understand yourself and your role as a future scientist. Be prepared to write several drafts and get an early start. Waiting until the last minute is never a good idea and will give you a personal statement which might be good, but could definitely be better and more refined. After you have written your statement, set it aside for at least a day or two and then revisit it. When you read it again, you may be in a different frame of mind and will be ready to revise. Proofread. Your statement must be grammatically perfect and free of errors. You may want to read your statement out loud a few times to catch mistakes. Remember that admissions committees will be reading many personal statements. Many of them are briefly skimmed. Writing an attention-grabbing introduction will make it more likely that your statement will be read in its entirety. You want to write well, but stay away from writing that may be too creative or abstract. Your statement should clearly answer the question, why this field and why this graduate school? Just remember, whenever you make a statement about yourself in your personal statement or your research statement, you will want to back up that statement with evidence. Career counselors and CBS are able to assist you with any stage of the graduate school application process, specifically with going over an application timeline and exploring graduate schools, giving feedback on your resume and personal statement, and conducting a mock interview for graduate school. Please get in touch with CBS Career to discuss any of these areas in more depth. And be sure to check out the other videos in our graduate school application series, including components of an application and asking for letters of recommendation.